Hi, this is Teddy Leonard. I'm a guitarist, and you're listening to Talking Blues.
I didn't know you came from such a big family.
Yeah.
11 kids.
Very big family for these days.
Where were you in the 11?
I have 4 older brothers, 4 younger brothers, an older sister, and a younger sister.
Right in the middle.
I don't think you could get any more in the middle than that.
You wouldn't know any different, but what's it like growing up in a big family like that?
Mostly chaos. Mostly chaos. And I had a good friend from high school who came and had dinner at our house once. We didn't have many guests for dinner.
Right.
For good reason. And I didn't know it, but a few weeks later, he was telling somebody what it was like to have dinner at my place. And the way he described it, it was like bulls in a china shop, or someone letting an A-bomb off in a bathroom. The things were flying back and forth across the table. And I think he was right. The conversations at dinner were like a spear throwing contest or axes.
If you have 11 kids, at one point or another, people start leaving.
Yeah. Well, the distance between Larry and Michael was 18 years. So Michael might have been 4 or 5 by the time Larry left.
Right. Okay.
And then they started falling off the top. Luckily, no more came on the bottom.
But it was a very musical family.
Yes. My dad was a drum major at De La Salle. And my mom was a great singer who sang with the Mendelssohn Choir in Toronto. She would have gone to a higher level, like the festival singers, but she had 11 kids. And she could only afford one night a week to rehearse. And that was her one night to get the heck out of the house.
Wow.
Yeah, but she was a wonderful singer. And she once told me that was the only thing that saved her.
You don't sing, or you do, but you don't really sing.
It's not my chosen thing to do. I wish I had done more of it so that I could make a better living today. I did a gig last night where I was the band leader and sang at least half the tunes. It was very strange.
I know you can sing, so was it strange because you just don't do it very often, or is it strange to hear your voice? Or
opening your mouth on stage is a thing of confidence, right? You have to have the confidence to do it, and it came so naturally to a guy like John Mays. And listen to Chuck Jackson. They're so at home talking on a microphone.
Yeah.
And I'm just tripping over my own words. So
how did this gig come about?
Well, I have this band of great musicians in London, and they think I'm the band leader. It's called the Pocket Rockets, but it's really pretty democratic, and we share vocals, and we just do the tunes that we want to do. We had a ball last night, and they're really great musicians, some of the best I've ever played with. So I'm very lucky.
So my understanding is every kid, all the 11 kids, no, not all the 11, 10 out of the 11 kids got music lessons of some sort. That is true. Except for one. And the one that went on to pursue music as a career.
Yeah, I'm not crying the blues about that or anything, but it's really odd that all the others took piano. One of them took trumpet. And my younger brother, Chris, he could play anything. He would just pick up the guitar and play it, play the bass, play the drums really well, and play the piano. And he got the lion's share of the talent. But he doesn't pursue it as a professional.
And nobody else was interested in remotely pursuing it?
No. And that's correct. I think they all love music. But nobody had the same kind of screwy ambition that I did. And to his grave, my father thought what I did was, in his words, illegitimate. Which is funny from a man who has 11 kids.
It is kind of so, but it's also funny because obviously music was a big thing in your family.
Yeah, there was always music in the house. Somebody playing a record or somebody playing an instrument, or my mother singing. She used to sing while she made dinner. I think it was, one of her only really kind of peaceful times when she was cooking. She would sing. I can remember really well, especially if she had new music to practice for the choir.
So mainly choir-related stuff.
Oh, yeah. She didn't sing pop tunes until much, much later. I didn't realize until she was in her 80s that she knew hundreds of pop tunes from when she was a girl. But when we were growing up, all she sang was choral music.
Did you ever record her?
Yes, I have it on my phone, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I made sure that I did have some. And it sits there on my phone, She loved to sing Christmas carols, not like liturgical Christmas carols, And she was good at it, really beautiful voice. My mom had a great voice.
Obviously, your dad didn't think it was a good idea for you to pursue music.
No, he would have liked it if I'd become an accountant or something. Good luck with that.
Well, how did you decide to pursue music? How did that happen?
Oh, well, the first time that I thought music was the coolest thing that you could do was when I saw B.B. King on TV. About 1968, he was on a show that you can watch on YouTube. It was called Jazz Casual with Ralph Gleason. And I remember seeing it on PBS, Channel 17 here it's out of Buffalo.
Right.
But I heard it and I thought, that's the coolest music I've ever heard. I loved the Beatles and I loved the Stones and I loved all the pop music that I grew up with. But when I heard B.B. King, I thought, that's really cool music. And he was really cool.
How old were you?
Well, 68, I would have been, do the quick math, you can hear the gears in my head. I was going 13, I guess.
And were you playing guitar by then?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't dare. But I thought it was cool, and I bought my first LP was B.B. King's Completely Well. That's the album with The Thrill Is Gone on it. And here's a little side story. I bought it from a guy at school. He was from South Africa. And his father would not let him keep that record in the house.
Because it was the blues, or because...
Because it had a black man on the cover.
Oh, okay.
And I got B.B. King to sign it when Fathead opened for B.B. King. I didn't tell B.B. the story, but his signature's on it. I still have it. I'll never get rid of it. Never give it up.
Yeah.
But there's his signature on it. And that was the first LP I ever bought.
I was going to ask you about opening up for B.B. when you told me that story.
Yeah, that was a thrill. You could not buy a drug that would make you feel like that.
No, I can imagine.
It was so great.
And the way he would treat everybody so special when you met him.
Oh, yeah. Now, I first saw B.B. when I was about 16. Went to Massey Hall on a weeknight and saw him, and it was a spectacular show. And we waited around afterwards. We were kind of peeking down the alleyway at Massey Hall, and a man came out and he said, "Would you like to meet B.B.?" He's part of B.B.'s entourage. Right. And we thought, yes, we would. We were pretty timid, kids living in the suburbs. We had to catch the last bus home, and we waited around backstage, and he was a complete gentleman.
Yeah. And
he was very friendly and shook our hands, and we all told him how fantastic he was that night, and he just kind of, he feigned being embarrassed, but he was a complete gentleman, and it was such a thrill. I don't think you could really meet famous people. I had never met a hockey hero or anybody famous before, but I met him, and I'll never forget that. That was fantastic. And the show was amazing. He was so good.
I mean, I would imagine that would be like at his peak. Right?
Yeah, he was about 1972.
Okay.
And he was just playing and singing so great. It was wild. It was so good.
So you see B.B. King on TV. You think it's the coolest thing. How does the guitar come into your possession?
My brother Norm had a guitar, and he kind of played folk songs on it. He's older than me. And at one point, I think he was at university, or it might have been in grade 13, but he wasn't playing the guitar anymore. And he heard me noodling around on my younger brother's guitar. And he just gave me his. He said, "If you want to learn to play, you can learn on this thing." And he handed it to me. I picked it up the wrong way because I'm left-handed. And he said, "No, you play it this way." And I turned it over, and I just thought, okay, this is the way you play it. So I'm left-handed, but I play right-handed. And that was his guitar. It was really a really great thing to do. My father probably thought it was an awful thing. Yeah. And that was, I was about 16, and, people in high school had already been playing, and they had been taking lessons, so I was way behind.
And then what did you learn first? Was it blues or?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, really? From the
because
very beginning?
The pentatonic scale is quite simple, and if you hear it and you play it, you go, oh, that's the path I'm going to go down.
And so automatically that was the path you chose.
Yeah, well, I loved B.B. King, and as a kid in that era, I had records by Cream and the Rolling Stones, and I'm trying to think of who else, but it's really important, and you don't get this with CDs anymore, but the backs of records usually have the credits of who wrote the song. So you'd listen to the record and you'd look at the back of it and you go, well, who is this guy, Willie Dixon? And C. Berry must be Chuck Berry. I've heard of Chuck Berry. I'd heard him on the radio. And say Booker T or somebody like that, like writing Born Under a Bad Sign, you'd see that on a Cream record, would say Booker T. Jones and William Bell or something. I think that's who wrote that song.
William, yeah.
And so you'd think, well, who are these people? So you'd try to find anything that you could about them. Now, the internet is so great because you can find out about those guys right away. You could be an expert on something in a couple of hours, or you could act like an expert. But I had to search all those names and who they were, and who is Otis Spann, and who is Muddy Waters. What's his real name? Why does it say McKinley Morganfield on his tunes? Who's that? What are those? And follow that path, which was great. Great detective work. And
did the playing come easy to you?
No. I was stumbling around with it for years. And, through the process of elimination, you find out what you don't want to do.
Right.
So you get out of high school and you think, oh, God, what am I going to do? You take a job in the stock market. You work on the floor of the stock exchange. You pursue that for a while and you think, well, this isn't anything that's really satisfying to me, or I don't really want to do it, or whatever. And you try something else. You go to university for a bit and you think, well, this isn't really doing it for me.
And you're still playing during this whole time?
Yeah, trying, learning bit by bit. But then all of a sudden I thought, you know what, I should just pursue this, because I think this is more fun than anything else I'm doing. Plus it's creative, and I didn't find business really creative. And I didn't find university really creative.
Do you know what doing this might have meant at that point?
Pursuing music?
Yeah.
A life of hardship.
You knew that back then?
I never ever thought I'd make any money at it, and I've succeeded in that.
Did you actually have to tell your dad this is the road you're taking?
Yeah, I did have to tell him that. He was not pleased. And he was not pleased for his whole life.
Oh.
And when Fathead won a Juno around the year 2000, I took it to him, and he looked at it kind of bewildered, and he said, "Does it come with any money?" And I thought, well, okay, we're never going to agree on this. But, he accepted finally, that, yeah, I did have a career and all that. He didn't think it was any good. But.
So how did you pursue that? Were you living in London or were you in Toronto?
No, well, I'm from Toronto, but I went to school in London and found it to be a great place to learn how to play, because the players were more accessible there. You could go and see somebody and go and talk to them and find out what they knew, and then
they tell you.
Yeah, they tell you, and you could go over to their place. And I have a great friend to this day in London, Jerry Fletcher, who is a terrific musician, and he made me a tape. And he said, I'll make you a tape. Bring a tape over to my place, because he had a great record collection. So he put all these great people on it, Gatemouth Brown, and, lots of Howlin' Wolf, and some Professor Longhair. It's a great tape, and I'm pretty sure I still have that tape somewhere. But I played that tape incessantly, because these were the things that he said I needed to learn. And I thought, great, I'm learning from a guy who's already a great player, and he's personalizing a tape for me. And that was a really big big move on my part. And then I got to play with other great players who showed me stuff. And then, of course, you sit with records all the time. It was all records back then, I wore most of them out. And then I moved back to Toronto.
What instigated that move? Was it because you had to, for the music scene? Or?
No, I think I moved back here. I don't know. It could have been just because I felt stalled there. And moving back here was more challenging. So I moved back here and I attended every jam session I could go to. Whenever there was a jam, I would go out and play. Try to play, try to get into it and meet the people who were playing, people who are already established players, and learning from them, and going home and practicing.
Who made an impression on you back then?
Oh, well...
Or who helped you?
Well, Gary Kendall helped me a lot. I met him, and he liked what I did already. And I met him through Kenny Brown, the late Kenny Brown, who had me in his band. He thought, well, I need another guitar player. So this guy, whom I met in London when I was playing there, let's get him. So I was there with Kenny Brown. And just right after Kenny Brown, I met Morgan Davis, and he asked me to join him.
So you must have been pretty good.
Well, I guess I was passable, yeah. And guys like Morgan, I idolized Morgan because he did everything that I wanted to be able to do. He could front a band, he could sing great, and he could play wonderfully. And he had this tremendous sense of humor and stage persona. And I thought, this is where I can learn a lot. And Morgan's band was a training ground for roots music, absolutely. And after Morgan, there was Gary Kendall, and still playing with Kenny Brown. And then I went on to do some other things in music, Played in a tribute band.
Did you really?
Yes, we'll edit this out.
And, we won't.
And
what kind of tribute band?
It was a Springsteen tribute band.
Wow.
So I can't say that I was the most convincing rock guitar player, but it's like I said, it's a process of elimination, and you learn what you don't want to do.
But okay, so was rock never part of your musical thing?
I like rock music too, but always probably in how it related to blues,
right? Which
is it's pretty obvious that a lot of rock music comes from blues, not so much prog rock or I don't know what you call the other kinds. I'm certainly not metal and things like that. Right. Although metal originally started as kind of people playing blues very loud and very heavily, like the first Zeppelin album, and Cream.
I find it amazing that you started playing very early with Gary Kendall, and you still play with Gary Kendall.
Yeah. Well, Gary is a kingpin, and I have to say he's been really kind to me. He seems to really like what I play. Go figure.
But I think he's been very kind to a lot of people.
Yep. Yeah, Gary, that's why everyone knows Gary. Everybody's kind of gone through learning process with Gary. And he's a very easy guy to work for.
Right.
And never asks you to do anything that you can't do or that you don't really want to do. So, as much as I can talk to Gary about business and being in bands and working, I can talk to him about blues music too, because he's a huge fan. Mm-hmm. So that's important. You meet people along the way who love the same kind of music that you do, and meeting Morgan was great. We could talk about Frankie Lee Sims or somebody like that, or Robert Johnson or anybody like that. And also Colin Linden was a huge step for me when Colin said, well, why don't you join my band? We've got a new record out and there's a lot of acoustic. I want you to play acoustic guitar behind me. And you couldn't ask for somebody better to teach you things. I mean, Colin could play at 13 what people, including myself, can't master at 50. Right. He could play this stuff, and he would show me things, and I go, and I'd often say to Colin, "When did you learn that?" And he would say, "Oh, I was about 13." And I would guffaw and say, "How did you learn that?" He said, "Well, you'd pick up the needle and put it back. And pick up the needle and put it back. And I think he wore all his records out.
I'm sure.
But there's a guy I could talk to him about anything. In fact, there isn't anything I could mention about roots music that Colin wouldn't go, oh yeah, and play it for you, or know exactly what you meant. You know, whether it was country or whether it was hokum or early blues or Chicago blues or rockabilly. He knew everything, and of course still does.
So when you joined Morgan's band or Colin's band, did you have in the back of your mind the thought of maybe being a front guy?
No, always as a sideman.
That was what you were hoping to do?
Yeah, I was never ever on the trajectory to be a front guy.
Except last night.
Yeah, it was great fun. and the guys behind me could sing really well too, so I didn't feel so lost.
But that was never the intent.
Yeah, it was always as a sideman. And I loved people like Steve Cropper and loved Ry Cooder. Although Ry Cooder's a front man, he's really a sideman who sings, or a guitar player who uses tunes to show you something. Like his artistry is on the guitar, and absolutely stunningly brilliant. And you have to sing a few songs to make a record. So I'm not playing down his singing, but you buy a Ry Cooder record to hear the brilliance of his music. And I thought, that's so cool. I wouldn't mind being Ry Cooder. Fat chance of that. But so that, you could explain all this stuff on the guitar. And I loved guys like Cornell Dupree, who never sang, but he made records too. Then you just go, wow, if I could make a record like that, if I could play a song like that, that's where you're at. My voice is on the guitar. It's not singing.
And are you content with that role? Like, is that...
Yeah.
You never thought,
I'm not a frustrated front man or anything like that. I love to play behind a good singer. I mean, Fathead was a magical unit because we had the best singer you could ever ask for. And once you wrote a song, you could get him to sing it, and he would sing it better than you could ever imagine it would be sung. And so my job was easy. It's like, I'll just stand behind you.
Right.
And he loved his job too. His voice was his instrument.
How did Fathead come to be?
Well, it was really birthed by Al Lerman, and he put together the band to play at a place called Blues and Cues. He got, I think, a whole month of Mondays or some off night like a Tuesday.
So what were you doing before Fathead? Right before?
Well, I played with Michael Pickett. I think he was probably the first thing before Fathead.
Okay.
And
because you're on Blues Money.
No, I'm Blues Weather.
No. Michael's album, Blues
Money. Oh, is that Blues Money? Is that what it's called?
Isn't it? I think it is.
No, I think, well, maybe.
Yeah, his first album.
Okay, then I'm on it. Yeah, I'm on some of the songs.
Okay.
Neil Chapman's on some, and I think Mike Francis is on some.
Oh, okay.
So we cut some tracks at Mike McDonald's studio in Kitchener, and then he finished off the album after that.
So you're playing with Michael for a while.
Yeah. That was after I'd played with Gary and his band, the Kendall Wall Blues Band. Then I went to Michael Pickett, and I don't know how close Fathead and Michael Pickett's band were, but kind of butted up against each other.
Right.
So, yeah, and Al put together this band, and the very first singer in Fathead was not John. I think we did some gigs with Tony Flame, and I think we actually did a gig with Joe Reynolds. But once John was into Fathead, and they needed a guitar player because Dave Gray left, I was back in, and the band was Al, John singing, Omar on bass, Mike Fitzpatrick on drums, and me on guitar. And we played around that unit for almost a couple of years.
Right.
Michael left, and we got Ed White. And that unit was together for a couple of years, and we did our first record with Ed White on drums. And second record with Ed White on drums too. Then Chuck Keeping came in on drums. So it was definitely John-centric. He's a great singer, and you need a great singer to have a great band.
I miss John.
Oh, so do I. And that was tough about playing Alison Tunnock's wedding without John, because we all missed him. Yeah, we can go back and say that recently I played Omar's daughter's wedding, Alison's wedding, and of course we didn't have John because he's passed away. So we did about a set full of Fathead tunes where everybody took a turn singing the tunes that they had written, and we played it, and we just had a ball because it was so much fun to play those songs for Alison and all her friends. And everybody there was definitely a fan of Fatheads, even if they didn't know it. And we just had a ball. That was the most fun I've had at a wedding ever.
Did you rehearse?
No, we just I just listened to the tunes ahead of time. And hopefully everybody else did too. And I'm sure we did, because we didn't train wreck anything. But that was fun to go over and listen to the tunes again, because you think, oh yeah, I could have done that better. Or, really, I played that? Okay, why did I play that? But it was great.
So if it wasn't for that, you would never really listen to Fathead?
No, I don't think so. Unless there's somebody who wants to learn a tune. But I play with a band, I'll be playing on Sunday with a band called Mulligan Stew, and they do a Fathead song. So when he told me that, I had to go back and listen to it to make sure I knew how to play it.
Can I ask which song?
It was I've Got a Hole in My Pocket 20 Years Deep.
Wow.
So it's called Somebody Else's Money.
That's so weird.
Well, it's another creation of Omar. Like from the mind of Omar Tunnock comes this.
And was it just really, did it feel right when you guys sat and played those songs?
Oh yeah, sure. It was fun. It was once again, you could not get a drug that could make you feel that good, because you're playing it for Alison for her wedding.
Yeah.
And the whole crowd is there smiling and grinning at you, and just thinking, wow, I sure miss John. Wish John could be here for this.
Yeah.
But you're doing it for somebody that you love. So it was great. And I heard from John's widow, Tina, that she saw footage of it and was quite moved.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So that was nice.
I mean, Fathead was a band.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it was, unlike you being a side person, it was
definitely all part of the band, yeah. Because it had a kind of emotion, like it moved together. It weren't disparate parts. You were all moving in the same direction, pulling, tugging different ways, but moving ahead and developing a sound, And certain songs are that's just the only Fathead would play them that way. Like, I would say Monkey Time was a song that it just sounded like the way we would play it. Kind of like Omar's paintings. There's nobody that paints like Omar. I don't think there is.
No, I don't think so either.
And so you look at it and you go, well, that's the way Omar paints. It's just the way it is. And so the band had its own sound. Yeah.
Am I correct? John didn't write songs, right?
No, not really.
So, I mean, you guys all brought in songs and he sang them and made it Fathead.
Oh, basically. Yeah. And the great thing is that you could write anything that you wanted. You know that John would sing it well.
Yeah, in any genre.
Well, anything, you'd say, well, it goes like this, John, and he would work at it until he had it the way you wanted it, but also the way he wanted it too. And you thought, well, I'm not going to tell John how to sing.
No, it goes like this.
He's the greatest. Yeah. Is that the way you want to sing? Okay, that's fine with me. Yeah.
It must be amazing to work with somebody like that.
Yeah, he was just a natural, John. I don't know when his musical career started, but he did tell me that he said, "Oh, you're a big B.B. King fan," because we traveled a lot together. And I said, "Yeah, I love B.B. King." He says, "I do too." He said, yeah, I saw him when I was 13. I said, really, John? He says, yeah. He said, 1955. And I said, that's the year I was born. And he said, yeah, I saw him at the roller rink in Rochester. And I said, at the roller rink? He said, yeah. What was that like? He said, well, you'd skate around a little bit, and then the band would come on, and you'd listen to them, and then you'd skate around a little bit more. And I thought, what a different upbringing he had than I did. Yeah, but he sang gospel for the first years of his career. Probably never stopped singing gospel, but and you could tell in his voice he had that kind of soul, and he could just, man, you really want to have fun, you listen to him sing a gospel tune. It was really fun. He'd sing some Sam Cooke, or he'd sing some I don't know what he used to sing. Standing by the bedside of a neighbor, it would kill you. It was so good. I don't have that in my background,
right.
But he did. And what a great thing it was to work with him.
For sure. What a great band that was. When you guys got together, I mean, obviously everybody was influenced by the blues, but it really wasn't a blues band.
Not per se. We would do the occasional song like "Let the Good Times Roll." We opened with that all the time, and we would sing "Train Kept It Rolling All Night Long," which is kind of an upbeat swing shuffle. But we played some stuff that was really low down and dirty too, not straight 12 bar or anything like that, but. We did Commit a Crime, which is definitely a blues tune, but it's kind of a different kind of blues tune. I'm pretty sure it's a 1-chord song. But yeah, blues influence for sure. And that was one of the secrets to Fathead's success, is we weren't a straight blues copy band.
Right.
And we weren't rewriting other people's blues tunes. Certainly when you hear the tunes that Omar would bring in, they would be, I don't think I could really be stretching it to say that some of them were from outer space.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody paints like Leonardo da Vinci. Not everybody paints like Salvador Dali.
And nobody paints like Omar.
Nobody paints like Omar. And that's kind of the way he approaches songs, too. They're very kind of quirky, and they go wherever he wants them to go. And so you have to accept that. You just go, oh, yeah, okay. Well, if this is wacky, we'll just keep working our way at it until it really works.
When do you think you personally found your guitar playing style?
Oh, I don't know. It's always evolving.
Right.
And it's always distilling. I find myself these days playing less and less. So if you can make something really stick with just a couple of notes, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going for that instead of playing more than what I hear.
Is that a difficult thing to?
No.
Find?
It's difficult for me to play a lot of notes. Because if I only hear something that just goes from A to B, there aren't any letters in between A and B.
Right.
And if you can't, there's no point in playing C, D, E, F, and G if all you hear is A and B. It's distillation. And most of the guitar players are distilled. Cornell Dupree, really beautiful phrasing, but also very simple. James Burton, certainly B.B. King. He's the king of hitting you with one note. When we opened for B.B. King, my girlfriend said, oh, well, what's it going to be like? Because she wasn't versed in the blues. And what's he going to be like? I don't know what's it going to sound like? What should I look for? And I said, just wait for his first note. With one note, he'll knock you over. And he came out and he sat down. It was one of the coldest nights. It was -20 or something. And he came and he sat down and he just did that thing where he just played one note And he went, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And that's all I had to do. And I think I read an article once where Stevie Vaughan said, yeah, we were all playing at Anton's. There was me and my brother, and he mentioned a few other people, and he said, and B.B. King. And he said, yeah, we started the first song, and we played, and I was first guy up, and I played, how many choruses? He might have played 4 choruses, and he said, I really laid it down and everything like that. And he said, and then we threw it to B.B. King, and he said he played 1 note, and he erased everything that I did. And I know that feeling. He just goes, wah, and you go, wow, I wish I could play a note like that. Mm-hmm. A guy like B.B. King, he can play 1 note, and you can go, oh, it's all over, isn't it? It's like a boxer with a knockout punch, or anything like that, or a slap shot, or anything where you just go, well, I can't do it any better than that.
Well,
that's the way I feel about BB.
I can't explain this, but you're one of the guitar players, the few Canadian blues guitar players that I can listen to and go, oh, that's Teddy.
Oh, well, that's quite a compliment.
And I don't know how to explain that, but I can. There's been a few times when I heard a Fathead song and I knew immediately that it was you, before knowing it was a Fathead song.
Well, that's definitely something I strive for. Like I said, and this is true, and you'll know on the airwaves, the more you say, the less people listen.
Right.
So if you make 1 point, that's great.
I wonder, if we go back to the Kendall Wall Band,
mm-hmm.
who played at the Black Swan as the house band.
Oh, yeah.
And played with all the touring acts.
People
come in for the Saturday matinee.
That was great schooling.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, I learned, how those guys entertained. Some of them were fantastic, and some of them were quite laid back. But the crowd was always there for them. It was wonderful. I remember backing up Walter Wolfman Washington, and afterwards I went over to say, well, it was a real pleasure to play with you. And he said, you like B.B. King, don't you? And I said, yes, I love him. And he said, I do too. It was one of the nicest exchanges I had with anybody there.
Wow.
And then we played behind lots of local people too. So I wanted to learn something about what they did. Because there are lots of great local players. I mean, Canada's full of great musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So, John King came as a guest with Kathy McDonald, and Jack DeKaiser came. All these great players, and you figured out, okay, what is it that they do that's unique to them? And you learn from it. You don't have to imitate it or anything like that. So,
because that defeats the whole purpose if you imitate them.
Right, and that's not what you should. You should try to glean from people, and this goes for BB or Albert or the guy on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that they do that you like? What can you learn from them? So, playing with Morgan was a great training ground. Holy smokes! There's a guy who plays very little and says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, I loved that. That was terrific.
So, between Morgan, Colin, and the Kendall Wall Band, those are pretty well blues bands.
Yeah.
I know they played more than that, but they're fully based in the blues.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Fathead, and Michael Pickett as well.
Yeah.
You go to Fathead, and it's not that. Is that an easy transition for you as a guitar player?
It didn't seem to be too hard. I mean, John was, at that time, mostly a dyed-in-the-wool R&B singer. That's what people wanted him to sing.
Right.
So we had a repertoire then of John singing R&B and blues. And blues wasn't John's first genre.
Right.
But he sang it really well. So we had songs like Rainy Night in Georgia, and I guess if we had to, we would play 6, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. But we always tried to have different songs than, say, your average R&B band.
Right.
So we learned from that record. Well, it was a great record, Rhythm and Country. It was produced by Don Was, and it was country artists and rhythm and blues artists together, singing each other's songs. So you had a Conway Twitty singing Rainy Night in Georgia with Sam from Sam and Dave. And you had Alan Toussaint and Chet Atkins playing Southern Nights. And you had Lyle Lovett and Al Green singing Ain't It Funny How Time Slips Away. And we did that one. It was a great version of that song. It's a dyed-in-the-wool country song by Willie Nelson, but it's sung by Lyle Lovett and Al Green. And John could sing that, would really sing that song. So we had all these different elements in it, but we were still a blues band. Maybe because we had a harmonica. Maybe that's why people thought that we were a blues band, but Al also played sax. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of mashed it all together. I did a gig with Lance Anderson this weekend in his tribute to The Last Waltz, and one of the things about the band was that they really defied description because they could do all sorts of kinds of music. Mm-hmm. There was an R&B influence, there was a blues influence, there was a rock and roll influence, and there was definitely a country and hokum and old jazz kind of feel to their stuff too. So the story of American music is the story of melting pot. Mm-hmm. So you had country elements into blues. You definitely had blues elements into country, and you had jazz and all that. And most American music is a fusion of some styles.
You talked about finding your path and eliminating things that you didn't like or you weren't comfortable with, whatever.
Yeah.
You also played with Pork Belly Future.
Yeah, that came from opening for B.B. King.
Oh, really?
And I didn't know any of those fellows, but they had all gone to see B.B. that night. And, of course, they were in the audience. I was on the stage. I didn't know about them. But they called me, I don't know how many months later, and they were looking for someone to fill in for Stuart Lawton, who was too busy with the Canadian Brass to make all of their dates. So I went and played with them, and my friend Richard Bell from Collins' band and from Janis Joplin's band, and later on the band, right. He was playing with them, so I knew him. And we just got together, and I thought, well, this is fun because they're all so different from me. Some of the band members there were classical musicians and, really accomplished. Mm-hmm. Chas Elliott played in the Toronto Symphony. Stuart Lawton played in the Canadian Brass. Paul Corrington was an award-winning author. So what a mix of people. And it was fun. It was really fun. Fun band to play in. And we did some great gigs. And unfortunately, Paul passed away while we were still playing, but we did some bunch of gigs and a whole record after he died.
Right. And was that an adjustment as a player?
No, not for me, because they wanted to know what I did, and I wanted to know what they did.
Right.
So I'm trying to think of who to compare that to. When certain bands hire somebody from a completely different area, and it adds flavor to what they do, So I looked at it that way.
How do you choose the projects? How does that happen? Because people call you and say, Teddy, can you play on this?
Yeah.
Do you always say yes?
Well, yeah, I guess so. I don't think it happens too often, 200 often. And generally, people only call you if they have heard you play and right. like what you do. So you got to go into a situation where you go, well, they want me to play like me. If they call you and they give you instructions of how to play like somebody else, then it's not for you. You know? And I've been in that situation where somebody says, "Oh, play it more like this and play it more like that," and you kind of go, "Well, I don't know how to play like that, or that's not the way I play, so this is not the right fit for me."
Do you have a favorite, like, kind of thing? Because you do so many different things.
No, they're all favorites. I love to play all kinds of music with other people. Yesterday we played some straight ahead funk, and we played some straight ahead blues, and then the third set I decided I wanted to sing "Hey Good Lookin'," so we played a straight ahead country song. Kind of wacky, but it's okay.
Unrehearsed.
It was unrehearsed, and it went over well, and it sounded great.
So the other band that you also associate to was the Maple Blues band.
Yes, I did that for a long time.
How did that come about? Is it Gary again?
Well, it was through Gary for sure. He was looking for somebody to be a permanent guitar player, and he'd had some guests, but he thought his idea for the band was something that could back up other people. Mm-hmm. So he wanted a sideman. I am a sideman. And I think that lasted 17 years for me. So we backed up 17 years worth of guests, and there were easily 3 guests a year. I'm sure there were more. Right. So if you do the math, we played behind 50 people, at least, which was great because you had to try to make everybody sound as good as their recording sounded, or something very close. The most difficult, and I will say this for the record, was Carlos Del Junco, who I had played with a lot, but he had a tune that was very, what's the word? Obtuse? No, obtuse is not the right word. Oblique. Oblique? Yeah, I got my words mixed up. Like, it came from all sorts of different angles, and none of them had anything to do with me. But I had to learn the tune, and we worked and worked and worked and worked at it. Now, on the record, I think it was Henry Heilig, Jorn Anderson, and Kevin Bright. And none of us played like those people at all. But we had to make something out of it to make, do a good show for Carlos. And I think he was kind of pleased with it at the end. That was a tough one. But we had all sorts of people come in from different directions, hear their tune, and try to do what it was that they wanted. In
very short time.
Yeah, you only got one rehearsal with each person. And that, so it was a high pressure gig that way. But, very good for building your musical muscles. You had to play something that somebody else had played. And sometimes it worked.
Well, such a great band. So for people who don't know, the Maple Blues Band was the band that backed up the Maple Blues Awards.
Yes, and all the guests.
And then you also went on to record an album, 2 albums.
Yeah.
So it was more than just stingers and whatever and backing up.
Yeah, and every year we had a new instrumental to play, at least one new instrumental, sometimes 2. And we collected those all and put them on a record, which I'm quite pleased with.
And it did well, the album.
I hope so, and I hope to do another somehow, with them. And we have a bunch of dates coming up next year.
Right.
Well, really, Gary Kendall's worked really hard to book that band, and now we'll feature other singers. I think there's Samantha Martin, Susie Vinnick, and we'll play their tunes.
I mean, this is not a small band. This is a huge band.
Yeah, it's a big band, yeah.
It must be fun to play with a big band.
It is. It is. You because you have to make yourself a little bit smaller to make everything fit. You can't stand on the stage and draw all the volume on all the audio towards you. Mm-hmm. You have to find where you fit in. Because you've got 4 horns, you've got bass, drums, guitar, keys. So in a situation like that, you really have to work on your ensemble playing.
Is everything charted?
Well, you make your own charts. So, yes. But I prefer not to use charts. I prefer to memorize the song because then I can play it instead of reading it or watching a chart, watching the song go by as you play it. It's much better for me, not being a schooled musician, to just play the song. This is how it goes, yeah.
Another band you're working with is the Hogtown All-Stars.
Yeah, which is an offshoot of a whole bunch of different bands. The Maple Blues Band, the Downchild Blues Band, and every other band that we've all worked in. So it's great. It's a good band. And once again, you have to submerge yourself into playing with all the different components. And, you play in a trio, you're going to play a lot. And you're going to try to dominate the sound, right? And deep in the groove. But when you play in a 6-piece band or 7-piece band, you need to find a spot and cultivate that.
Another band is Erin McCallum band.
Right, I play with Erin, and that is just guitar, bass, drums, and Erin singing. So that we're going to be cutting a record in February, early February. So
nice.
That'd be good for Erin. She hasn't had a record out in a long time, and she deserves our attention. Yeah, because she's a great person, and she's been around for a long time.
Have you ever thought about doing your own record?
I toyed with the idea a couple of days ago. I thought, I should really make something and put it out there and see if anybody cares about it.
I mean, it's weird because the music industry is the way it is and things have changed. But are there things that you just feel like it would be really nice to get that down on tape? And
I suppose so, yeah. And recording has never been as accessible as it is now. I mean, you could record here, acoustic guitar, 2 microphones, somebody singing. It's much more accessible than it was in the 50s when nobody owned a tape recorder, nobody owned a microphone. Right.
So what would that, if I don't know how much time you spent thinking about it, but in the couple of minutes you might have thought about it, what did you imagine that thing to be?
Well, I love acoustic music too, and I love the blend of acoustic and electric together.
It's funny because I don't think of you as an acoustic player.
No, well, with good reason. I stink at it, but it doesn't mean I don't like playing it. But I like to play bottleneck a lot, and when you got a guy like Ry Cooder is one of your biggest influences, and you listen to his records, he's often got acoustic instruments interfaced with electric instruments.
Right.
So,
did any songs come into mind?
No, you'd have to write your own. I mean, I've been working on a bottleneck version of Standing on the Corner Watching All the Girls Go By, which is the thing that I love about Ry Cooder is that he would take an obscure tune from one genre and a genre from over here and put them together. And then you get a reggae version of It's All Over Now by the Valentinos. So I think that's just a really fabulous way to do stuff. And he does it better than anybody. And,
Do you still write?
Yeah. And I'm writing with Erin now. So we have to get these tunes together for that record.
Right.
We're going to do that at Steve Mariner's place.
Nice.
In Coburg.
But, sorry, do you actively write?
No, I actively play a lot. And that's my strength and my wheelhouse. So I look to collaborate with other people.
Right.
Who write, some people write intensively all the time. Erin's like that. She writes words all the time.
I mean, my favorite song of yours is I Want You.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did that at Allison's wedding. That was great.
Yeah.
And I'd never sung it before. So I thought it was, I didn't do it as good as John May's, that's for sure. I used to like to play that song. It was a real barn burner.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, it still is, I guess.
Yeah.
I always remember seeing you guys in Ottawa at the Ottawa Blues Festival.
Oh, really?
And I think you guys were amazing.
I think we only played that once, and that was...
in the afternoon sometime?
Yeah.
2003, 4,
yeah, I think we were followed by Coco Montoya.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember it being a great gig. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember it that way, but...
Yeah. We played some wonderful gigs. And the bigger the stage, the better John May sang. It was really, really neat that, you put him in front of a big crowd and he just felt like, I'm here. I'm here to entertain you.
Like I said, I miss him. He used to call every so often.
Really?
Just to say hello. And
that's nice.
Yeah. He was such a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, we did a gig in Sharbot Lake. I forget the name of that festival, but it happens every year. And it's a real earthy festival. The bands sleep in tents. And that says it all. There's a porta potty and a tent. And then you play. And on the main stage, they had built kind of a runway out the front with lights on it. It was all very, very earthy, very crude isn't the right word, but I'd say it was earthy. And I said to John, look at that stage. That's built there for you. And we're back here, and John had this big runway like Vegas, but Vegas in the middle of a evergreen forest. And he blew the doors off the place. It was outdoors. And we had been preceded by a fantastic Brazilian street band where all the musicians used instruments that were made out of junk.
Huh.
So they were all percussion instruments. There was an accordion, but everyone else played a percussion instrument. There was a guy beating two Dr. Scholl's sandals together. And there were cans filled with some sort of buckshot or something like that. And they were fantastic. They were really great. We went on after them when we played our set, and everything was great, and John was out front, and he was being John, almost like Vegas John Mays, walking out into the front. And when it came time to play You Can't Always Get What You Want, we got the Brazilian musicians up with us because it was purely rhythmic.
Right.
And we played that song for about 20 minutes. It was fantastic. And every time we finished it, one of us would count it back in. And nobody left the stage, and the crowd was just lifted off their feet. And that was John at his best. He's out front singing You Can't Always Get What You Want with this huge band of guys slapping things together and shaking them. And I don't recall, but I'm sure the accordion player was there too.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. That was a great moment.
For anybody who hasn't heard John, check out Fathead's album. And John also released a solo album,
yes,
which you had a hand in.
Yeah.
That you got to hear his voice. He was a special person. He was a great singer.
Yeah. Well, I think Andrew needed somebody to choose tunes for John.
Yeah.
Because he could have put anything on it, but you don't want to just put Mustang Sally and 6-3-4-5. You want to put something so that people will really listen to it. And we found songs that John knew, because he knew a lot of songs, and that were different. So,
if I'm not mistaken, you had a huge part to play in that.
Yeah, in choosing the songs, because Andrew Galloway planned the album for a long time, and we had to get a repertoire together, because it couldn't just be another Fathead album. Right. It had to be John's record. So we found songs like, we'd already been doing Bedside of a Neighbor. Al had brought that to the band. And then I found this song by Lou Rawls. It's not a secret or anything like that. It was Your Real Good Thing Has Come to an End, which is just a spectacular song. And it turned out John was familiar with it, and we did a version of that, and it was great. And so we put together this record that wasn't just cliched songs, because nobody would be interested in a record if it was just what you'd hear at a bar on a Wednesday night. So, but the big star of that album is John.
For sure.
Yeah.
And check out his version of Jealous Guy.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was great. We had great songs on that record, and we also had outside players too. There were the guys from Fathead. There was Alec Fraser's on it, and Dennis Keldy's on it. Lance did some producing on it, and it was a labor of love to do that for John, and came out. It was his record.
Yeah, special.
Yeah, very special.
Thank you for doing this. I've known you for a long time.
You're welcome.
I knew nothing about you.
Hopefully you know even less. now, or maybe you wish you knew less.
No. And I've been listening to a lot of Fathead because in preparation for this. So,
well, that's the coolest thing about it, and I hope if you have John's solo record, you listen to that, because that was a great thing to be involved in. And everybody felt that way. We wanted to make a great record for John because, unfortunately, as it turned out, it's his legacy, and that's just so important for him to leave behind as much as he could, because he was so great. Yeah.
Well, and the Fathead records too, right?
Oh yeah. Well, they're part of his legacy, but something with his name on it. I'm sure it was just a labor of love for everybody in the band and everybody, all the musicians involved. John was loved by everybody. He would guest with your band, and you would just think, wow, he's great. And, he always came in with a positive attitude. He'd show up and, hi, what are we going to do tonight? Let's do this. And he was really popular on the guest series, or the guest. At the time, there were many bars that had kind of the same rotation of singers. So somebody would bring in John, and he would come up and he would just wow. Yeah. I mean, he was bona fide, as they say.
That's for
and
sure.
He could put a song across so well. Even on a night when he wasn't feeling so good, he would just be terrific. Every singer in Toronto felt that way. People say, "Oh, John Mays, he's the greatest."
You're lucky to have played with him.
Yeah, I feel that way very much, and to know his family, and just that man had soul. And I don't mean, that he was just a great singer. He just had tons of soul as a person.
Yeah. Daddy, thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.